Hi there, greetings from Sydney and welcome to the next episode of Illustrated City. My name is Jakub, and as some of you may know already, on this channel we focus on art, people and cities. A few months ago I created a poll on Instagram asking where you would like us to go in the upcoming episodes. Today's destination was the most popular choice, so after I drop my dog back home, we'll be catching a flight to Singapore. For someone who travels frequently between Australia and Europe, Singapore often becomes a regular stopover. It is one of the main transit points along the way. I have been here a few times before, but only once left the airport to quickly see the most famous tourist spots. Today is different. We are here to experience what Singapore has to offer. And as our artist told me, we will see the city from a slightly different angle.
Hi, I'm Priscilla Tey, and this is Illustrated City, Singapore. I'm Priscilla Tey. I'm a Singaporean artist and illustrator, and I'm here to show Jakub around Singapore, at least the Singapore that I know and I love. And hopefully you get to see a few places that make an appearance in a lot of my artworks. Let's go! We are in Chin Mee Chin, which is a very iconic coffee shop in this Katong area. It's celebrating its 100th kind of birthday, I guess. It's a family-run coffee shop, and coffee shops are really kind of a staple in this country. It's usually, you will find it at the corner and at the ends of these shop house rows. There's always like a corner coffee shop. And locally, we call coffee kopi. So we're gonna get a kaya toast here, and then I'll add on a kaya toast for you. And yeah. So this shop is somewhere I used to frequent when I was a kid. It went through a few like facelifts, so now it's like kind of really nice. I think it's tailored to kind of suit the younger crowd. It's made a little bit more kind of hipster, more comfortable. But in the past, it was a little bit smaller. I remember I wouldn't come here and sit per se because it was really hot and sweaty, but my mom would like pick up some treats and then we'll bring it home and eat. Go for it. Oops, should not have done it.
What, hard boiled or soft?
It's soft boil. There we go. We added soy sauce.
Yeah. Goes well?
Yep. It's a thing. All eggs, we add soy sauce. We have a very traditional, typical local breakfast, which is kaya and butter on bread. Sometimes it's toasted. And then we have two soft-boiled eggs, cooked perfectly and very nicely, cracked with soy sauce and white pepper. And then over here, I couldn't help myself. I saw it in the window and I had to get it. It's basically gula melaka chiffon cake, which is like a nice fluffy cake. And then gula melaka is palm sugar that's from the Malacca region. And it's a sugar and a sweet treat that you'll find in a lot of desserts in Singapore with the Peranakan cuisine and the Malay cuisine, and I absolutely love it. So yes. And of course, kopi. We've got to have kopi, which is the local coffee. Kopi is basically the Malay word for coffee. So you got to smear that butter into that kaya. That's butter. And then the stuff underneath that's kaya. So,
And what is kaya?
so kaya is essentially a coconut jam that has like a pandan flavoring to it. So pandan is a leaf that grows quite a lot in this region. I'm going to be feeding you lots today, so get ready. But yeah, this is quite literally my jam. So I'm taking some of the soft-boiled egg, and then I can either dip my bread in or just like drip it onto the bread, and this is going to be extremely unglamorous, but we are currently in the Katong, Joo Chiat kind of area and neighborhood, which is very close to my heart. I love this place for a few reasons. I live just a few neighborhoods away, and this area is kind of where I sort of grew up in this vicinity. My mom grew up in this vicinity, so it's got sentimental value. So we are now at Kim Chu, which is one of my favorite snack stores. And we're just going to pick up a couple of snacks so that in case we get a bit peckish along the way, we have something to eat. So kueh, this shop is known for its kueh kueh. Kueh is basically the local word for snacks or dessert or cakes. Let's try some. So over here, we're going to get one box of this. This is called onde onde. Well, Singaporeans call it onde onde. I know that in Indonesia, this is called kelepon, and people will argue in the comment section about this. But its original name is klepon. But at some point in our history, it got changed to onde onde. It's basically a pandan kind of starchy ball, and inside there's gula melaka, which is that palm sugar from Malacca that I was talking about. That's really nice and sweet. So later on when we try this, you have to close your mouth when you eat it because it's going to explode, which is brilliant. I love it. And we're also gonna get a box of this, which is basically one of my favorite kueh kuehs. It is called kueh salad. What it is basically on the top, it's a pandan custard of sorts, and then there's blue pea rice. So blue pea is a kind of flour that is found in this region, and they stain this rice and make it sticky, and then this is a very popular local dessert. So this is my little zine that I made, which is basically a love letter to 5 Foot Walkways, which are these corridors that you find on the first floor of all these shop houses, and it connects one shop house to another shop house, and it's really this very interesting space that people use to get from point A to point B, but it's also a very colorful space because people often spill their wares onto this area. There's like seating, and then people can be sat here drinking coffee and things like that. I also am very grateful for 5 Foot Walkways because it offers a lot of much needed shelter and refuge from the sun when it gets way too hot. And when it also starts to pour and rain, it's also a very, very kind of interesting and very useful space. So yeah, that was what this essentially was. It's my little love letter to this long, vibrant corridor that we get to see. And because we are in the neighborhood of Joo Chiat, a lot of these shop houses are Peranakan shop houses. So there are these very beautiful tiles that you will see on the floors, and the columns are all really ornate, and they have all sorts of Malay, Chinese, and European influences. So we get to explore. Basically, Joo Chiat, before it got entirely gentrified and became like Cafe Central, used to have a lot more of these stores, which are like hardware stores, just basic wares, rattan shops, grocery stores, and that was just the common way of life. So kind of things like that, and it's always like stocked to the brim, full of things, like from floor to ceiling. I'm glad to see that there's still a couple of these mom and pop shops still hanging in there. Yeah. Okay, so this was the last rattan shop that was located along the street. Over time, with gentrification and the cafes moving in, these stores have moved out. I guess we just missed it because they just moved out last week. This was the last rattan shop. Well, it holds a special spot in my heart because my ancestors, my great-grandfather and my granduncles were rattan weavers. So it's quite sad to see it go. At a street just off of Joo Chiat Road that is very well known for its very iconic Peranakan houses. Along the street you would have seen a lot more of these back in the day, and it's very colourful, which is very indicative of the Peranakan culture. And then you will see that there's a lot of these beautiful, gorgeous Peranakan tiles, kind of ornamentations on the columns that are very kind of European. But if you look closely, there's actually a lot of Eastern references in these decorative elements. Peranakan tiles. So these are very typical of Peranakan houses. They're ceramic tiles. If I'm not wrong, how they make them comes from Europe, like the technique of making them comes from parts of like Italy and Spain. So you'll find a lot of those botanicals in the Peranakan tiles here. Okay, so we made it to the end of Joo Chiat Road, and so at this end you'll find Geylang Serai and Geylang Serai Market, which is also another iconic space that has like brilliant food, great food, Malay food. We're gonna get some noms to eat because we've been walking a lot and we deserve a treat. So this is basically Singapore in the late 50s. And then this was the start of the early 60s where the government went in and tried to clean up a lot of these old, what we call kampongs or villages. And yeah, we've come a long way. It's only been about 50, 60 years, 60 years from that to this. So here we have satay, which is key food that you must try when you're in Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, one of these areas. It's basically meat skewers, but the real beauty of this dish is the glorious peanut sauce. And then this thing that's wrapped up is called ketupat. So ketupat is a kind of steamed rice. So they wrap it up traditionally in a leaf and then they steam the whole thing. And then this crispy thing is called keropok, which is like a prawn cracker, shrimp cracker. Everything gets dipped in the sauce. Okay, so this is Haig Road Market, which is another food hall or hawker center as we call it. It's pretty big with great food, so round two. This is putu piring. Essentially what it is that it's shaved coconut and then they steam it and they compress it and they have to shave it until it's so nice and fine such that when they compress it, it becomes this nice sort of like doughy texture that melts in your mouth. And then inside is molten gula melaka, which is that palm sugar from Malacca that I was talking about. So when you bite into it, it just oozes out. It's great. I know I told you I was gonna get carrot cake, and you were probably expecting something completely different. But this is what carrot cake is in Singapore. I guess the name for carrot and radish and turnip is kind of all the same. So that's why it's kind of called carrot cake. It's actually just radish chopped up and then deep fried together with soy sauce and egg and a bunch of other goodies. It's savory, completely different from the Western carrot cake, which is a sweet dessert. Enjoy.
A trip to Singapore couldn't be complete without seeing some of its modern iconic locations. The ArtScience Museum, with its stunning lotus-like design, the world-famous Marina Bay Sands, and Gardens by the Bay, which makes you feel like you're on the set of the new Avatar movie. All of these also appear in Priscilla's art. Let's take a look.
Okay, welcome to the HP Customer Welcome Centre. And this is a mural I did for HP titled Reinventing the Town. And it's really a kind of photo op wall for a lot of customers and visitors that come and visit the space. And it features the Singapore skyline so that they can know which HP centre they're at. Yeah, you'll see some familiar kind of buildings that typically people will think of when they think of Singapore, like the Marina Bay Sands and like a lot of modern architecture. But I really wanted to also pay homage to a lot of the older traditional buildings that are also very integral to Singapore culture. The entire mural is structured to celebrate the past, present, and future of Singapore. And it's showing the city in this constant state of reinvention and flux. And that's really kind of sums up Singapore in its essence. It's always changing, it's always moving, it's always reinventing itself. There's this main section where it's really like a love letter to 5 Foot Walkways that everyone knows I love. 5 Foot Walkways, which are very, very unique to Southeast Asia. And you find them on the first floor of all these shop houses. The shop houses are very, very typical of Peranakan art and local architecture, which has this like hybrid of colonial columns mixed in with like an Eastern flair. Some public housing kind of buildings like Tiong Bahru, and the interlace is like a little nod to the housing buildings that are in this area. Gotta have nasi lemak, I love nasi lemak, and food, culture, Peranakan tiles, and things like that. So the entire mural was created digitally on Procreate actually, and really I had to use that medium because the wall was meant to sort of feature HP's printing technologies and its sharpness and crispness. So I really wanted to pack in as much detail as I could with this wall. So playing with textures, but also like really detailed kind of line work to carve out the shadows and tones for the entire piece. I tend to work in a sort of like maximalist style. I love kind of relishing in all these little juicy textures and details. So this was a real treat to kind of work on and get to really go nuts with it. And I want to introduce you to my little cardboard chicken friend. Really, this is how this collaboration with HP really started. Last year, I had the opportunity to design a large-scale installation, and it was entirely made out of cardboard. I was put in touch with Trio Packaging, which is a local cardboard manufacturing company. That was when we discovered that HP had a kind of eco-friendly water-based latex ink that could print onto cardboard, and you get these really nice, vibrant colors. And it was entirely recyclable. This is just a little remnant of that kind of installation. So a while ago, I illustrated this children's book called Counting in Dog Years. It was written by Betsy Franco. The story in itself featured a lot of like weird robots and things. And so when I was developing the characters and I was trying to figure out where to set the entire story in, I decided to base it off of this Tiong Bahru neighborhood because of the architecture, which is very kind of Art Deco-y, or more specifically, streamlined modern is the term they use to describe the buildings over here. And so when I built out the kind of city, I kind of referenced a lot of the buildings with the kind of curvature of the lines, the walls, and like these fun circular windows that I felt lent itself to the aesthetic of the whole book. So you can see it over here. It's all that architecture. Okay, so it's really hot, so we're gonna cool down, okay? Yeah, we're now at Tiong Bahru Bakery, which is a kind of, you'll notice they have multiple outlets across Singapore in like different malls and things, but this is the original location because we are in the neighborhood of Tiong Bahru. And Tiong Bahru, it's interesting as a neighborhood because the name of the neighborhood itself is comprised of two words from two different languages. So Tiong in Tiong Bahru is Hokkien for cemetery, and then Bahru is Malay for new. And the reason why it's called essentially New Cemetery is because this area used to have a lot of cemeteries. The old, so-called old cemeteries are in Chinatown, and then they kind of like spilled over here. So I think the cemeteries are long kind of gone. It's been built up since to become like a public housing estate. And then through the years, this area started to get gentrified. And then because I think of its proximity to the central area of Singapore, it makes it kind of a very prime location. And then the quaintness of the neighborhood itself lent itself to having like cafes come in, and then it's a very nice walking street. So you had more like indie bookshops started setting up shop over here, and then it just started to attract a younger crowd and breathe new life into the area. And then now it's like kind of one of the hippest neighborhoods to live in. Yeah, and it's kind of cafe central. Yeah. A nice refuge from the heat.
Priscilla needs to run an art workshop soon, so we decided to split and meet again later today. With some recommendations from her, we will now visit the local market with its popular hawker centre. I feel like today is turning into a culinary episode, but I couldn't help myself from trying a very Singaporean dish. The place doesn't look like much, but the line of people can't be wrong. This Hokkien Mee won a Michelin Deep Gourmand Award, given to restaurants offering the best value for money food. And paying $6 for a plate, I couldn't agree more with the choice. The heat and humidity are not making the day easy. So before we move on, I will need to rehydrate. With what it looks like a bucket of sugarcane juice.
Okay, so this is the National Gallery building, and we're gonna go see some art.
National Gallery Singapore is located in the heart of Singapore's civic district, in the beautifully restored Supreme Court and City Hall buildings. Inside, you will find the largest collection of modern art from Singapore and Southeast Asia. We are here to see a particularly original exhibition in which Priscilla was involved.
So I did some work for the National Gallery last year that involved animations and AR activations, and I was then asked to mentor a bunch of students from CHRG Toa Payoh Secondary. So what you are about to see is not works done by me, but rather these incredible 15-year-old, 14-year-old kids that produce these animations inspired by these artworks.
Priscilla mentioned before, she has worked on other projects for the gallery, such as It Takes a Village, a stunning installation that included the cardboard chicken we were introduced to earlier today. We don't know it yet while filming, but very soon this artwork will go on to receive the World Illustration Award in the professional category.
Okay, so welcome to Pearls Hills Terrace. This is an arts enclave that used to be an old police barracks and kind of has been taken over by various art groups. There's a pottery studio and a music studio, and it's a pretty colorful place. I have a bunch of friends here with a studio called Arterly Obsessed, and that's who we are here to visit. So the place is pretty eclectic. I love this place for that. You'll find like a lot of weird knickknacks and sculptures that the landlord has collected, which is pretty fun. I'm excited for you to see this creative space. So welcome to Arterly Obsessed, my favorite studio.
So hi, welcome to Arterly Obsessed. We're a studio located at Pearls Hill Terrace. So here we do a lot of workshops, and in particular we really like supporting artists. So Priscilla is one of those who comes into the studio and really works in the studio space, and also she does workshops with us as well.
I predominantly work at home, so I mostly am in my bedroom painting, and it's a small little corner. So sometimes it gets a bit cramped and crowded, and when I need a change of environment, this is one of the spaces that I come to. So they've very kindly let me leave some work here so that I can give you a taste of what I actually do. Generally in my practice, I work across different mediums because I kind of get bored easily sometimes. So I don't like to stick to one medium and one medium only. But mainly I work with watercolor and gouache when I'm doing traditional work. Watercolor, gouache, pencils, and then of course, like a lot of illustrators, I also work digitally. So I have a range of works here. Some of them are prints of originals, some of them are original paintings. Like this one is a watercolor, gouache, and colored pencil combo. I like to experiment with line work and sort of surreal imagery, a little bit of fantasy. I like details. I like drawing animals because I find that they can be so dynamic. So this one is the story of the jade rabbit. I did this during the year of the tiger for Chinese New Year. So every New Year I try to do a piece that is devoted to that zodiac. And over here you get this table of very small paintings, travel paintings. So all of these are original watercolor paintings that I have done on my travels around the world. Okay, this is Pearls Hill Terrace, New Mexico, Oaxaca, Mexico, San Francisco, San Diego, Seoul, Korea, New Zealand, and New Zealand. And then sometimes I take those travel paintings and then I revisit them to create like more illustrations and gouache paintings that have like a slight narrative to them. And we had fun walking along various shop houses and 5 foot walkways today. So you'll find they feature in a lot of my paintings and illustrations. So I definitely would say that moving forward, I want to really explore more of the realm of fantasy, more of these weird little characters, and more line work, which I've been incorporating gradually more and more in my works, just simply because I like working with line. It's a notebook cover. The original illustration was done in gouache and colored pencil, and it was then scanned and then printed onto this kind of linen-y fabric notebook cover, and it was done for this local stationery company called Bind Artisan. And I really enjoyed working with them on this to celebrate their 10th anniversary. And it ended up being printed on a couple of their packaging and things like that. And it's gotten really good reception, so I was pretty happy about that. But I think what I was most happy about this particular work was I started to incorporate more lines into my paintings here, so that was pretty fun. When I create an illustration, I like to usually draw from my surroundings, things that I've noticed, things that I've observed. So it usually starts a lot with people watching, or just watching people do things. And that's why I think some of my characters are always a little bit awkward, because I think I am secretly kind of drawn to that awkwardness. So even when you look at a simple rainy scene like this Joo Chiat wrote one, I call this the umbrella huddle, which is where when people cross the street, it's interesting how, you know, there's so much space, but somehow they feel safer in numbers, maybe. And I've noticed that people just tend to like huddle together, and then all the umbrellas kind of create this canopy. And then if you're that one person who forgot the umbrella, you can just kind of like duck in between all of them and kind of make your way across without having an umbrella. And so all the characters have a little bit of awkwardness to them. This was something I did after noticing how lost many tourists were in Paris, and so I put 2 little lost sheep in the middle of Paris. I'm drawn to very like weird and quirky, whimsical characters that look kind of awkward and are weird hodgepodge of different things. But overall, pretty joyful in their character and pretty dynamic. So I think most of my illustrations, I do like to retain some kind of dynamic motion or dynamic movement within the piece, just to keep people engaged. I actually worked on part of the HP mural right here on this couch on my iPad. And it's a very comfy place. And sometimes if I get really stressed out, I'll just take a little nap.
This is where we say goodbye. But before we leave Singapore, I'll take you to one more fascinating place recommended by Priscilla. I'll see you in the extras episode soon.